The transition from sport and being an athlete my whole life, sport to intuitive movement was really drastic for me.
Yeah.
I remember being so used to only moving my body, not necessarily being in my body.
Yes.
And my body was a vehicle for performance.
This is a super interesting conversation. Your body as a vehicle to performance, especially if you played competitive sports, which we both did. First of all, it becomes a complete and total identity.
For sure.
That when you stop playing, I think a lot of college athletes and a lot of like people who get beyond structured sport environments are kind of like, well, what do I do now? Who am I? I thought that like that's kind of all I was born and bred for, was to perform at X level to achieve X title. I think a lot of athletes too are really taught to ignore the intuitive feelings of this hurts. I need to lay off this. I need to skip a practice today. I need to trust that my left wrist is hurting. I need like
also, like, I haven't had a period in 6 months. Like, gonna ignore that.
Yes. Yes. We're so ignorant of what our body is really telling us that we need. And that, like, right there, that's the switch. That's the transition to intuitive movement. For those who are deep enough to get it,
but profound enough to not care.
You're listening to Consciously Unconscious.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Oh, princess. Where are you, princess? Do you know what that's about? Oh my God, it's been my most favorite viral sound. Oh,
we are on two different sides of TikTok, and that's so unfortunate. We need to be on the same side.
You would laugh so fucking hard. I need to show you, oh, princess. Where are you, princess?
We are on two different algorithms.
I can't believe it's in my favorites.
Oh, princess. Princess, where are you?
What is the context? What's the video?
People just making weird shit with it.
I love it. It's new energy. It's new vibes because it's springtime.
It is, and the birds be chirping. I went to the park yesterday. I got a little crispy suntan. Mm-hmm. People are out and about in the Denver metro area.
Denver metro.
Despite everything being brown and crusty outside, people are throwing balls to their dogs. People are suntanning on their blankies, grilling. There was even this group of high schoolers clearly skipping school to drink Patron in the park. I was like, I'm coming to hang out with you guys.
That is the most Denver thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
15-year-olds drinking Patron.
Yeah. Wait, why?
Patron's
What?
definitely a little... I mean, is it a well liquor? I think it's a little bit more of a top shelf.
Patron.
But it is, you're right, it is ball throwing season, and it is laying out in the park season. And you know what? An ailment came over me, actually.
Oh no, Amanda's got something wrong with her this time.
My neck,
My back,
my pussy
and my crack.
is
What's
sore.
You need a new pillow.
Unbelievably sore. And I was racking my little mind on what could I have possibly done to make my back, my neck specifically.
I'll tell you right now. You've shown up 4 other times saying your neck hurts. It's your pillow.
This is different. This feels different.
You're holding stress in your body.
Yes, but I also think, you know what I did on Monday? Yoga.
My yoga class?
Your yoga class.
So you're blaming this on me.
Jessa gave me a private yoga session, which you guys will see if you are interested in taking yoga from Jessa, as you all should be. Go to our YouTube and watch it because it's actually a great class. We do some funny banter, but we also do a full yoga class for you. Jessa does. So you guys can take it and it's lovely.
Hi.
Perfect springtime way to start the morning. Mm-hmm. But I fear that I might have yoga a little too hard.
What can I do to support you in these trying times?
Well, you can maybe reassure me because my hypochondriac self is going straight to, well, I have viral meningitis.
No, that's not what's wrong with you. You just have stiffness in your cervical spine because you don't move it a lot.
Very true. Because I was thinking the handstands, the like...
Chair.
Do you know what I... Chair pose.
Scarecrow?
The pinkies out. No, I say this. I don't know if I actually say this in the video, but I want to say it now. I said it to you off the mic. Doing that private session with you actually was so eye-opening to the ways that I was doing yoga wrong. I think that I always think of yoga as very slow, very intuitive, very flowy, just kind of, in a way, there's no way to do it wrong.
Right.
However, there
But
totally
anatomically, there is
totally
to be
is.
able to protect your joints and your muscles. And like, I think that's the most important thing about being a fitness / yoga / movement instructor nowadays is that unfortunately, because the industry is over commodified and westernized, it's like you pay to get a certificate, you pay to get a certificate, you pay to get a certificate.
Yeah.
And people are rushing through these trainings and they're not actually able to take care of their students in a room. They're not actually able to protect them to make sure that they don't leave getting hurt because they're not learning the correct way to teach to different bodies. They're just learning a very like power vinyasa, like get people to burn calories, teach to a room. It's like you really have to be attuned to your students' needs, which is why private sessions are so important and special if you have stiffness and problems or injuries in your body, because if you show up to a class, you kind of just disappear into the background and then you can leave and have like long-term problems. So
well, and you have muscles that start to overcompensate for other muscles. So I think what's happening in my cervical spine is that maybe my back was overcompensating for my neck or vice versa or whatever. Something up here was overcompensating for the other.
Yeah.
And I finally did it correctly. And now my neck is paying the price, unfortunately, but I feel like it'll get better.
Right. Will. Yes, doctor.
yeah, you know what you need to do?
What?
Make one of those like sock rice things that you put in the microwave.
So I had a heating pad on last night and I had to take 2 Advil, 2 ibuprofen.
I was in full refusal to take Advil as a child.
Why?
No idea.
See, I was the opposite. Took it.
Pill popper.
Pill popper.
I was like anti-medicine for whatever reason. I was just like, nope, I don't want Advil. I don't want Motrin. I would suffer. And my mom's like, just take an Advil. I'm like,
Wow. So you were the OG crunchy girl.
yeah, girl. Oh, princess. Where are you, princess?
Oh, princess.
I was
Jessa
the OG
hiding from-
princess.
She was hiding from ibuprofen. That's where she was.
What else is new besides your hurt cervical spine?
Well, it's Mercury retrograde.
Mercury.
I can't. Something's going on with my pronunciations today.
Yeah, tip of the teeth and the tongue.
The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips.
Okay.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Mercury retrograde happened.
Is happening?
Mercury or Mercury?
Mercury.
Mercury. Mark your calendars, guys, because Mercury is in retrograde.
How long is it in grade for?
Well, it actually went into retrograde when I was in Vegas, which is why I was terrified to fly, because I was like, oh God, there's an eclipse and Mercury retrograde. Something's going to happen. Some woman is going to be churning butter on the wing.
Nothing, in fact, happened. That is so funny. You know, I have been thinking of like, what are things that are like my tagline, you know, to just say in funny scenarios or just like that makes no sense. And churning butter on the wing of the plane used to be one of mine, where I used to just say like in no contextual fashion.
Yeah.
There's a woman churning butter on the wing.
I had a dream. You were in it.
Yeah, so we should bring that back for sure, because
I agree.
Let bridesmaids never die.
Never, ever. It's top 3 for me.
Well, nothing happened to you.
No, but Mercury
Just drop it from the vocab.
retrograde, is in retrograde. I think something is
Amanda,
happening.
if you are a speech pathologist, please enroll Amanda in some courses.
No, I'm trying to tell you why my speech is so awful.
What is it, Mercury in retrograde?
Yes.
It's making your motor functions.
M retrograde houses communication. So communication gets really lost.
Retrograde.
In M retrograde.
Okay, well, that would explain why we had an argument yesterday.
Yes.
We didn't have an argument, but you know, something that's interesting is that Amanda and I play 3 different roles in life. We play best friends, we play business partners, and then we play somewhere in between. And then we play actually 4 roles, because sometimes we play strangers because we don't talk to each other for days on end.
And then 5, because sometimes you play auntie to my kids.
Yeah, I love playing auntie to your kids. And we just had a little bit of a discussion yesterday, which we handled really well.
I think we did too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
No, but I genuinely think that is why all of this communication stuff is coming up, and I'm noticing it. I mean, even when we did travel, we had a plane delay and all of these different communication, travel, logistical oopsies.
Whoopsies.
And so I just want to warn the peeps that you're in Mercury retrograde.
You're also in a 10% full waning crescent moon.
What does that mean?
The moon phase.
Yeah, but what does waning crescent mean?
Growing. Wait. Huh. Why am I blocking out?
You know what I actually realized the other day?
Oh no, waning means getting smaller.
Getting
so
smaller.
The new moon, that makes sense. Waning versus waxing. Wax on, wax off. The new moon will be on Friday, the 28th.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so we'll do some new beginnings, intention settings.
Saturday.
All the newness of springtime. That's actually a beautiful time to really do like spring cleaning and like call in new beginnings, I think. You were telling me that you were doing spring cleaning. How's that going?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, I got a little halfway through it. I think I'm having a bit of a moment. You know how you go through that moment where you start to look around in the spring and you say, I have acquired some stuff, huh? I sure have.
Sure do know
There's
that.
stuff in every square inch of this apartment. And I'm feeling a purging energy. I'm feeling a release, let it go. But I'm not really good at taking pictures of everything and listing it. I'm just more like, let me load up my car and drop it off at the local Goodwill.
Yeah.
Also thinking about when I move from place to place, you know, what are things that are really important to me that I want to take? I think when I first moved into this house, I was like really impatient in wanting to finish it and wanting it to be done. And now I've kind of filled it with things that, yes, are really special to me, but things that I'm like, okay, not taking that with me if I leave, not taking that with me if I leave.
Do you Marie Kondo it?
Marie Kondo?
Marie. Just give me grace today.
I'm retrograde, right? The only thing that I've taken from Marie Kondo is the rolling my stuff when I pack.
Whoa. We need to talk about that.
Do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because do you know what I do? I use the little zip bags. You ever seen those?
You ever seen those?
You ever seen those?
Yeah,
those
I
partner?
have. Piper, no. Buddhism.
Actually, I have a funny story
Okay.
about Buddhism. So
Oh, here we go.
when I was
I love that phrase. I have a funny story about Buddhism.
when I was about 5 months postpartum with Lennox, I was 23. I went out to dinner with my parents and they were just talking to us. They were so excited to be grandparents. They were loving life. They were drinking wine. Wine was flowing. Lucas and I were talking and they asked if we were going to get Lennox baptized. And I said, no. They were like,
No, he's
"What?"
Buddhist.
So I was like, what? They were like, what? Why would you not get him baptized? What are you doing with your child? And we're like, look, we're not religious. Like, we will come to your house on Easter and Christmas. Love the traditions, but like, we're not religious. Why would we get them baptized into a religion that we do not partake in?
He's atheist. He's self-proclaimed atheist, actually, he said.
And then my mom was like, well, you know, are you going to be religious? And I was like, I don't know. What if one day I like do my research, I get into Buddhism and maybe I want to be a Buddhist. And my mom's like, so you're leaving us?
You know, she would still love you.
She dead has thought that being a Buddhist meant that we were like fleeing the
Moving.
country.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve commentary on that one.
So now Lucas and I periodically will be like, so you're leaving us?
So you're leaving us? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, well, I would like to leave us. No, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't want to leave
I would
you.
like to leave us a review.
Yeah. I've tried to leave us 5 stars so many times, but I think it only records 1. But
Yeah, it does. You bet your ass that I've left 5 stars on every single one of my family members' devices
Oh,
for
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reviews are skyrocketing except for the one that says 1 star.
That's a
You're
Princess
just
Coco
in
energy.
it for the money. And I'm like, what money? Haven't made a fucking dime off this.
Yeah. It's
Yet.
Princess Coco energy. Princess. Where
Yo, okay, the last time we tried to record this episode, we mentioned Princess Coco. She hasn't been brought up yet. Princess, where are you, Princess? Princess Coco left us a stank ass review
Smelly.
on YouTube, and she was really anti our feminism episode. It wasn't even a
No. She was anti our power and paradox of words episode.
Right.
So essentially, we posted a YouTube short because we're trying to cross pollinate on all platforms. We posted a YouTube short where Jessa was saying, if your words create a reality, or if your perception is your words, or something about words, perception, and reality.
Yeah, it was on some fucking high horse about your reality.
And then I was talking about written words versus verbal. And at the end of that episode, I was saying maybe Shakespeare was right in the fact that words might not actually hold a bunch of weight in determining your reality. Princess Coco obviously didn't watch till the end, because then she left a comment and was like, you guys need mental help.
Yeah, Princess Coco was trolling.
Yeah.
She was like, you need to prick yourself with a pin. Reality check,
Here's
bitches.
a simple example of why your perception does not create a reality. Prick yourself with a pin. That's basically what she said.
Anyways, if you're out there, Princess,
Princess, where are you?
she's gonna become a long-term character.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't. With those type of people, you just kind of have to smile and nod and make them a character, because you cannot argue with people who are unwilling to change.
Facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you bring us to drink, Princess?
Beverage of the week. Actually, I'm going to do a song first.
Are you gonna sing? Okay.
B R G W.
Wait. Brr.
Because
BRG.
today we are
Berger.
drinking an LMNT.
Wait, where did you get BRGW? Oh, beverage week.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Exactamundo.
LMNTBRWG, something like that.
Okay. So I have brought us an Element to drink today, because Element is actually the only hydration packet that has actually left me feeling quite
Chipper. Hydrated. Parched. Satiated.
what's the opposite of parched? That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh,
Quenched. That's it.
quenched.
It's the only hydration packet that's left me absolutely quenched. And something that you might not know or be cognizant of is that when you move your body, which is what we're talking about today, you lose important essential electrolytes. You lose your mineral content when you sweat,
That's facts.
when you move your body. And so you need to replenish those to be able to be hydrated, be clear-headed, but also for your muscles to recover, to negate any muscle cramps and aches. And honestly, it's just a really delicious drink to have, and it makes you feel good. So today we're drinking an Element.
Cool.
Would you like to try?
You need to snort a line to fix your cervical spine.
Oh, that's the only way? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Medical advice.
Well, maybe we can do it for a reel and it can get millions of views.
Okay. What flavor? Lemon lime looks to be. Yeah. Okay. Whoa.
Citrus salt.
Oh.
Citrus salt. And we may or may not have a
Oh.
discount code for you.
My God, you put the whole packet in here. Didn't
Fix your face because we're going to get an affiliate link.
It's so good.
You got to stir it up.
I did.
You did?
This is Amanda.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
Super
Make someone
salty.
blow out.
super salty. Super salty.
I like.
Superstar. Superstar. All right. How many intrusive thoughts can I have?
I know. This is a very intrusive thought episode.
Princess. Superstar. All right.
Did you know he actually improv that?
Probably.
Matthew McConaughey.
He's an icon and a legend.
improv that. And that was his first acting job.
Have you read his book?
Green Lights. I have not read it, but I have spark noted it.
Oh.
Yeah. But he talks about how in that movie, which was Dazed and Confused? Something. He talks about how he improv'd that. It was his first gig, and how he was like, I got girls, I got the car, I got the weed. All right.
Love it.
Legendary.
You know, I don't think we realize how much of Hollywood is improv. When you're just like on set and you're in your character, so much just happens that isn't written into the script.
Do you think you could improv though like that?
Yeah, that's my strength. I used to be an improv club.
Yeah, what was that like?
If I really if I like become my character, it's so fun to just like pretend like you're in a completely different reality.
Yeah. I need to do more of that. Well, we are going to do a comedy episode.
Yeah, we're going to do an improv episode.
Yeah, so just stay tuned on that. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
At the edge of your seat.
At the edge.
Yeah. But anyway, we're talking about movement today.
Yeah, take two.
Take two.
We attempted to speak about it last week. Our brains were turned off. We were just like, you know what? We're going to revisit this conversation at a different time when we're feeling a little bit more apt to discuss.
I'm feeling jazzed.
Feeling jazzed. Apt to discuss the conversations surrounding intuitive movement, the philosophy of movement, just connecting with your body and your physical form, our own experiences with movement. It's a really, really endless topic where we can dive into many different avenues. But I think a great place to start is this concept of the philosophy of movement and where it began and the history of it and what it means to be an able-bodied physical human that is sensational.
I agree.
And
Take it away, Jessa.
I think one of the biggest things that we forget is that movement is so inherent and intuitive. Like, we conceptualize when we talk about the concept of movement and exercise and physicality into movements, right? But movements actually fit into this broader container of movement. And movement itself is your life, is you, is your biological, animalistic experience as a human. So even before we...
Right, because you honestly, that's a really great way to kick it off, because I didn't even think about that. In order to experience life, you have to move.
Yeah. I mean, even before you have any concept of what your physical form is, you're crawling, you're
Right
rolling.
out of the womb.
Yeah.
The baby will crawl to your nipple because of the pheromones. Because of the pheromones that you give off. They will literally move their bodies the second that they're out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that once you get older, you look at movement as a very segmented part of your life. You forget how inherent it is to your entire existence, right? And we're categorizing this conversation mostly to people who are able-bodied and...
Living in the US too.
Yeah, living in the US. What?
I think we live way more sedentary lifestyles than a lot of people in the world. That's kind of where I was going with that.
Yes. Societally and structurally, we've gotten a lot of our intuitive inherent movements taken away from us because we do live sedentary lifestyles. So I guess the point that I'm just trying to make is that we need to have a conversation today about the concept that movement is life. And as species in the animal kingdom, we are one of the only species that has the ability to select movement in so many different ways, not only for... Why are you looking at me like that?
I know Princess Coco is going to comment on this and say, humans are not animals.
Honestly, we'll take the comment. But...
Sorry, I threw her off.
You did throw me off. Humans have the most
yeah.
complex movements out of all animals in the animal kingdom. And not only do we have the most complex movements, jumping, rolling, leaping, grabbing, like all of these different ways.
Somersaulting, backflipping,
All the
back
things.
handspringing,
Head behind,
handstanding.
yeah. Foot behind head.
Licking elbow.
Exactly. We have choice in not only doing it for survival, but doing it for play, for exploration, for joy. And it's super interesting that we have lost sight of the fact that the movement in day-to-day life is really sensational and really integral into this concept of intuitive movement.
Yeah. And I think you're speaking to the idea that exercise has really overshadowed a lot of that perspective. Because I think if anyone really just allows themselves to consider, oh wait, movement is actually just very inherent and it's a privilege and it's something that I do all the time, every single day, it makes you want to do it more, or it makes you grateful that you can, so then you do. But I think that because exercise has been such a huge industry that has infiltrated a lot of our mindsets around movement specifically, it just puts a lot of pressure on people. It makes people want to do it for the wrong reasons. It makes people feel shameful about movement. So I think it's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, because it makes people feel like movement / exercise is a requirement to be healthy.
Yep.
And while it's a really important catalyst for health is to move your body, and we'll talk about why in terms of moving energy through your body, in terms of connecting mind, body, spirit, all the reasons why exercise is good for you, it adds unnecessary pressure for people to feel like the mundane movements that they do in their day-to-day life, getting up out of bed, going and brushing your teeth.
The neat energy expenditure.
Huh?
That's what it's called.
Oh, cool.
Your non-energy something.
Yes.
Your neat energy expenditure.
Yes.
I learned it when I became a fitness coach, actually.
You were a fitness coach?
Well, I never actually coached, but I took my NASM certification to become a fitness coach when I was 8 months pregnant.
Slay.
I was studying to be a fitness coach while I was pregnant, graduating college.
That's so cool,
And
Amanda.
then at 8 months pregnant, I waddled myself into the little place to take the online exam and got it. And I was going to become an Orange Theory coach. And then I realized,
I so see that for you.
yeah. And then I realized I don't actually want to be waking up at 5 a.m. to teach classes, but
Oh my God, you should do that.
yeah.
You'd be such a good Orange Theory coach.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks.
100%.
I might.
I would
could see
take your
that
class
for me.
I don't know if you guys if we've talked about this before or not, but Amanda and I both completed Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and it's a health coaching program that has a segment on fitness and nutrition. It's a lot about kind of like accountability coaching and mental coaching and like holistically putting everything together. But a section of it as well in that program is based on movement and moving your body and how integral it is to aligning.
Integral.
Integral?
Integral. I thought you said integral.
Integral. In aligning other parts of your life. But maybe you could just give the people a little history, a little background on exercise, because you, I think, have some interesting points about the bell curve, or I don't know what type of graph it is, about
I don't either. Math was not my strong suit.
how exercise has shown up in our culture.
I couldn't swallow. So essentially, I was doing some research on the history of exercise because I thought it was really interesting where we have gotten in terms of trends and how, again, exercise has become an industry, like anything, right? Anytime there's a scientific study that proves to be beneficial for humans, we find a way to capitalize on it, as we should, you know? There's a downside and an upside to everything. But I was really curious because I was listening to a podcast about the history of exercise specifically, and they were saying that in ancient times, physical fitness was just a part of everyone's life. Again, that neat energy expenditure, also games, sport, like physical activity was really prevalent in ancient cultures. Then it kind of had a drop-off period, and they didn't go into detail about why, but my assumption is like there were a lot of, you know, societal class disparities with royal and like peasants or whatever is what they were called. And I think actually a sign of wealth and status was being curvier, was being
Because it showed that you were well fed.
that you could actually afford to eat. Yeah. So I don't think that they actually were. I feel I can make that the assumption. I feel like that exercise was almost looked down upon to people because they were like, why would I want to move my body? I don't want to do hard labor.
Well, yeah, luxury meant let me put my feet up and get
Exactly.
fanned by grape leaves and, you know, eat off the vine.
Exactly.
It was the definition of relaxation and the higher your social class was, the less you had to do.
Yeah, hard work was for lower levels of society.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think even as we get into the 1900s, it was very much like hard labor, farmers, people who were in the industrial like factories and whatever. It was very much for the blue collar people. And then exercise really didn't come into picture until the 60s. And the first form of exercise that blew up, do you know what it was?
Like the Zumba dance classes?
The first one that really had like a huge impact. Jogging.
Oh,
Jogging.
okay. With like the
So up until the 60s,
ankle weights and the sweatbands.
Yep. Up until the 60s, it was actually looked at exercise and running and like energy expenditure in that way as risky. Athletes were actually thought to die younger. Because
they were
overexerting themselves. And so people didn't want to until this one scientist in Europe was like, I'm going to look into this actually, because I don't really know if I believe this. And the way that he conducted a study was he took conductors of double-decker buses who are climbing stairs all day long and compared it to regular bus drivers who weren't climbing stairs.
And they had
twice as much heart attacks as the conductors who were going up and down the stairs. So he's like, actually, I think it's the opposite. I think that moving your body actually helps your cardiovascular system. And so from there, people were coming out with jogging. What's interesting is that the founder of Nike co-wrote a book on jogging with a cardiologist.
Interesting.
And then started Nike.
Did you know the Nike symbol was from an intern that never got paid? The Nike swoosh was created by an intern that never got credit and or paid out for it. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Are you kidding? Is he still alive or is she still alive?
I don't know. There must have been a lawsuit later down the line once it blew up, but I think that they, barely got anything comparatively to what it's
That's
really
tragic.
worth. Yeah.
That is tragic.
But super interesting that they co-wrote a book with a cardiovascular.
And it's just interesting to me too, because it's like once they find that something is good for you, they're going to write a book about it to tell you why you should do it, and then say, oh, you need running clothes. Oh, and you need running shoes.
Of course.
Oh, you need all these
things.
things.
Of course.
Then it was running. Then aerobics became big in
This
the 80s.
was like the tapes. This was the
tape.
teachers,
This was the Jane
the
Fondas, the
tapes.
Gilda Marks, like all of the people who created dance and aerobics and Zumbas and
Making exercise fun and girly.
and honestly empowering women to do it too, because women were looked at as very self-indulgent if they partook in any form of exercise, because they're supposed to be in the house, they're supposed to be with the children, and people actually thought that like their uterus would fall out if they move their body too hard, which is nuts. Because
you're in a CrossFit gym, you just deadlift something.
yeah,
Hang clean, whatever the fuck it's called. I was teaching Ellis how to do that the other day with the broom. Not that I lift at all, but you just flip it up and then your uterus just drops to the ground.
yeah, exactly. That's what they thought. Have you seen Kind of Pregnant by Amy Schumer?
No.
Oh my God, it is fucking hilarious. She pretends to be pregnant. And there's one scene where she runs into somebody that thinks she's pregnant while she's at a party with somebody that doesn't think she's pregnant. And she's like, oh my God, I don't have my fake bump. She takes a roast chicken, sticks
Puts
it under her dress, and then literally at one point it just drops out of her fucking
She's
dress.
hysterical. Have you seen the interview that she does where someone's like, oh my God, they ask about her husband?
Ellen does.
And she says, oh, Jeff, right?
Yeah. yeah. Chris,
Iconic.
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Chris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she talks about how he's on the spectrum, and she's like super normalizing that. She's
Obsessed.
I love
she's
her
an
so
icon.
much. Yeah.
Okay, so women thought that their uteri would fall out. And this was really a normalization movement of making exercise fun, making it accessible, making it something that you could do in the home if you just pop in a tape. I mean, like really, yes, commodifying it, but also like empowering people to try on movement in their body in a way that didn't feel intimidating or scary.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously trends just spiraled, right? Like we have, more of like spin classes and cycling getting big. And then we had CrossFit getting really big. And now, Pilates and all these trends. So I want to take this moment before we move into more conversation to do a new segment.
Okay.
It's called Embrace or Erase.
Wait, this is fun. Okay, wait. Embrace or erase?
Huh? So
Ready.
I am going to share with you different types of exercise.
Is it like a speed round?
Kinda, yeah. Different types of exercise. And we will say if we want to embrace it or erase it.
Perfect, princess.
Okay. HIIT class.
Erase for me.
Okay. Pilates.
Do I have to give reasons why?
Not really, but if you want to expand, you can elaborate.
Okay, no, total embrace.
Pilates.
Warm embrace.
Oh my God, we are so opposite. See, I would embrace a HIIT class and then I would erase Pilates.
No.
Running.
Depends on the day, but embrace.
Yeah, embrace. Ebooks created by influencers that you can do at home.
What the fuck?
You remember like the Kayla Itsteins?
Erase. I don't do shit at my house.
Same. Dance class.
Am I doing it with a friend?
Sure.
Embrace. If
Yeah.
I'm doing it alone, erase.
Actually, a form of dance class that I would embrace very, very soon is pole dancing.
Okay, we should try that.
We should.
You know what I've been doing actually? As many of you may know, if you've been here from the start, I purchased a sauna a few months ago and I've been using it every single night, as one does, dollar per use. I have made my money back at this point, but I will put on music because you can't do anything. It's a steam sauna. Like I can't bring my phone in there. It's like very meditative. And either I will just sit there and like close my eyes and breathe and be like, I'm fucking hot. Or I've been putting on music on my speaker and I've been dancing in my sauna because I'm like, there's
Extra sweat.
well, yeah, and there's not enough
You need element.
space to I do to like do sit-ups or do any movement. Like I can't do like my own heated yoga class. There's basically just like this little box. But I just like it's a really good place for me to dance and move.
Yep. Okay. Sport.
I don't understand. Sport?
Sport.
What sport?
Sport.
Total embrace, but there's a couple in there that I wouldn't.
What would you not embrace?
Rugby.
I could get down and dirty with rugby.
Yeah, that's
I played
see
powder
that for you.
puff in
So did
high
I,
school.
and I was obviously QB.
I was obviously wide receiver. We make a perfect team. You throw to me, I score a touchdown. We belly bump.
You know, something about being the QB requires, we belly bump. Roast chicken just falls out. Something about being the QB requires a lot of mental coordination. You got to look up, you got to read the field, you got to have really, really quick cognitive function in order to take in what you're seeing and completely act on it.
And not get sacked. Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Okay. Spin.
I would have said embrace before, but I think it's an erase for me now.
1000% agree. CrossFit.
Erase from the planet.
From the entire ether. I think I would embrace it for one class and then erase it. I want to see what it's about.
I am just very interested in the CrossFit trend because
Same.
it was such a wave within the last 5 years or so where everyone was like, CrossFit, this is going to get you looking like this. It's going to get you feeling like this. Like there was just this whole push for CrossFit gyms and they blew up out of nowhere. And maybe this was even like 10 years ago because this was in high school, I guess. And it's actually like quite detrimental to many people's bodies if they're not already pre-trained in a certain way, right? Like it's really hard on you impact wise. And I just personally am not someone who likes to like pick things up and set them down.
Yeah.
I'm more into the fluidity, the flow, the movement, the breath, which I know is a part of CrossFit, but I just, something about it is really rigid to me.
I also think it's a breeding ground for cheating. Like, how many people have you heard met their now boyfriend and then had a divorce going to CrossFit?
That's so true. It's a little culty.
It's a little culty. It's a little swingy.
Oh my God. Are CrossFit gyms a breeding ground for swingers?
I think so. I think there needs to be a study on
Okay.
that.
We're going out. We're going to do a sociological experiment.
In our camcorders, with our camcorders.
Yeah, we need to get the hidden ones.
Yeah.
Like on the corner of our glasses.
Oh.
Inspector
What are those?
Gadget.
Inspector Gadget. What was the other science one? Oh, no, I'm thinking of Big Fat Liar for some reason. I don't know why. Great. When he like
Movie.
lives in the warehouse of all of the toys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he jumps against
yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. Great movie.
Ooh, great movie. All right, couple more. How many more?
Just two.
Go.
Strength training,
Erase.
embrace fully. And then the last one is group classes.
Embrace. It's one of the only ways that I'll work out. It's funny because your embraces totally emphasize your masculinity and mine emphasize my femininity, which we often talk about the fact that I live in a little bit more of like this feminine lens and you live more in the execute masculine drive lens.
Yeah.
And it's funny how the exercises that you choose to participate in can either contribute to that narrative or help you get out of something. Like I wonder if we each need to try on each other's preferred things to help kind of balance out our masculine feminine. Like I need to go try lifting to get me in this like motivated, concentrated, a little bit more like powerful, structure driven vibe. And you need to lean into yoga, Pilates, like walking, running, like things that are a little bit softer.
1000%, because I think that something that I was realizing was that the transition from sport and being an athlete my whole life, to intuitive movement was really drastic for me.
Yeah.
I remember being so used to only moving my body, not necessarily being in my body.
Yes.
And my body was a vehicle for performance.
This is a super interesting conversation. Your body as a vehicle to performance, especially if you played competitive sports, which we both did. I played all the way up through college.
What'd you play again?
Soccer. And first of all, it becomes a complete and total identity.
For sure.
That when you stop playing, I think a lot of college athletes and a lot of like people who get beyond structured sport environments are kind of like, well, what do I do now? Who am I? I thought that like that's kind of all I was born and bred for, was to perform at X level to achieve X title, X gold medal, like all these things. And it really does take you out of your intuition, especially when coaches, when people in these athletic departments give you specific guidelines of how you must move in order to be better at the sport that you're performing. I mean, like, you must lift to this degree. You must agility train in this way. Like, it's so structured that you're so right. Like, I don't know that I was ever
taught to train for lifestyle and intuition and health.
Yeah. I mean, you think about like, I don't know why this was the first thing that came into my head, but think about the female gymnasts. And a lot of information has been coming out over the years of all the corruption in that industry and the male coaches and all the tragedies that were this Olympic gymnast container. And I think a lot of athletes too are really taught to ignore the intuitive feelings of this hurts. I need to lay off this. I need to skip a practice today. I need to trust that my left wrist is hurting. I need like they're
also like I haven't had a period in 6 months. Like gonna ignore that.
Yes. Yes. We're so ignorant of what our body is really telling us that we need. And that like right there, that's the switch. That's the transition to intuitive movement.
Well, I also think that growing up in sport and athletics and not, you know, I played volleyball and then in college I played club volleyball, but that was after a couple years of a break from sports. And I think that was really the catalyst for having an eating disorder and over exercising, was because I was so used to moving my body to achieve a result that instead of my result being winning a game, it became controlling how I looked. It was, okay, because I don't have anything to train for, I'm going to train for abs, or I'm going to train for a certain number on the scale.
Yeah. This is the perfect transition into the concept that we unfortunately separate mind and body too often. And we perform movements outside of this container of movement as life itself, as being alive, as being sensational, that create two separate entities of mind here, body here. And when you lean into intuitive movement, which is the opposite of what we're talking about here, which is that feeling yourself, which is like listening to what your body needs, trying on being connected to your physical form in a way that is like really softer and gentler.
And just solely based on feeling.
Solely based on feeling, yes, versus outcome. That's when you start to yoke. That's yoga. Like yoga comes from the Sanskrit term to use or use, which means to yoke, to combine mind, body, breath, mind, body, spirit. And that integration of mind and body is like being alive, being human. I think oftentimes we separate the two.
I think we're programmed to separate the two. I think even when you think about the philosopher like Descartes, he said, I think, therefore I am, very much separation of mind and body. They're completely separate. And then even when you look at the Western medical system, I mean, nobody is treating for root cause. Everyone is looking at a symptom and treating it with a medication. They're not talking about what are you doing for exercise? What are you doing emotionally? It's not holistic. And so I think that we don't even think to integrate everything when we're moving our body because we're not taught to.
Yeah. The Descartes thing is interesting. I think, therefore I am, because you're right. It does create this separation. And something that I think is one of the biggest injustices to your experience as a human is when people say like, oh, you're just a sack of skin. You're just flash walking around.
Meat suit.
Yes. Like the meat suit thing, because that is it's so separating of mind and body. And really like, I see them as so integral to one another. And yes, they influence each other, but they really are kind of like one entity. And when you do things where you are consciously combining the two, like that's...
Well, it's so expansive. I think what's interesting is if you look up the most successful people in the world,
they make their bed every morning.
They do. They make their bed every morning. They also move their bodies, but they also habit stack. And so one thing that I do is when I am working out, whether I am listening to something or I'm only listening to music, I am actively choosing to also think about my manifestations because I'm rewiring my mindset.
Yeah.
Something that I think giving birth taught me, it kind of fucked me, honestly, because now whenever I move my body and I do something really challenging, there's no excuse for my body's not capable of this because my body literally did something that I thought was so incapable. And then I did it. And that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. So now when I'm doing like a push-up or I'm doing like a plank, I'm like, fuck, I can't even tell myself like, you can't do this because I know I fucking can. I'm going to have to just do it. Like it's a blessing and a curse. However, I think that the most powerful thing that you can do is align your mind with your body when you're moving. So thinking positive thoughts, thinking about the manifestations that you want, allowing yourself to dream and rewire your brain and your thought patterns.
That's the neuroplasticity.
Yes.
That is the whole Andrew Huberman wormhole of literally rewiring your brain. Like you said, creating new neural pathways. And what that comes from is, it's funny because it's like, ironically, this balance between doing things that make you feel gentle and soft and intuitive and flowy and good in your body and you're trusting your feelings. But it's also that same ice bath concept of pushing yourself to challenge to a point where you are lighting up places in your brain that create neural plasticity by pushing yourself beyond what you think you're capable of. That's
that
the growth.
Translates to every part of your life.
Yes. I mean, that's what I say to a lot of people in the yoga room is like, whatever you're doing here on the mat translates to everywhere else you go outside the mat. And you show up differently every single time you show up on your mat, right? So like some days you're a little bit more apt and prepared to challenge your body. Other days, like you need to be soft. You need to drop down to your knees. You need to take a break. And those two things are perfectly fine. You have this beautiful dichotomy of challenge, grit, power, energy, but then you also get this softness, this gentleness, this kindness, this patience with yourself.
Yeah.
And all of those things that you cultivate and you rewire on your mat, you take with you.
Yeah.
Whether it's your mat, whether it's in your running shoes, whether it's in a CrossFit gym, like whether it's just like dancing in your sauna. I think the coolest part, again, is this balance between finding exercises that make you manifest and dream and think and be in your mind, because you're like, ooh, this is a perfect opportunity to like feel really inspired and dream and rewire. But movement is so meditative. Movement is so clearing to the mind. It helps you get less mind in the way when you are in more body.
That's interesting. Being cognizant of how movement can help you in different ways. Like, I think it's really important to notice and be aware of, I have emotions in my body that I need to expel.
Yes.
And I need to move through and I need to meditate on, versus I have dreams and goals that I want and I need to prove to myself that I am capable of getting those things. So I'm going to work hard in the gym, challenging myself so that I know that I'm capable of those things.
For me personally, when I run, that's my time to think.
Yes.
I'm not clear-minded when I run. I'm thinking, I'm dreaming, I'm planning.
I'm that bitch on the street that like is like rapping and like, yeah, I can do it. Like
Running for me is very structured time for me to think.
Yep.
When I'm in the yoga room, no thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, no thoughts. And that was my first meditation ever, was when I was doing yoga. I had never sat before in silence and just been like, okay, clear mind, like let the thoughts come and go.
Yeah.
My first time ever connecting to meditation and a clear mind was when I went through a really bad breakup in 2018, 2019. I don't even fucking remember, 2020. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm so sad all the time. I can't stop thinking about this. I'm on a spiral of grief. I need to do something for myself where, even if it's just for 60 minutes in a hot yoga room and I'm thinking about how hard this class is, or I have nothing else to focus on besides how present I am right now, that's what I'm going to go do. And that was my first like addictive taste of, oh my God, it feels so good. Even just for 60 minutes to just be like, whoa, where the fuck was I for 60 minutes? Like I was not sad. I was not thinking. I was just like so in my body and in my breath. And breath is a massive tool with any movement that you have to lean into that, right?
Yeah.
Because we have this ability as humans. It's kind of this concept of like metacognition, thinking about thinking, but we also have the ability to have pointed awareness, to have one pointed awareness, to have a sense of autonomy over where we focus.
Yeah.
And that is the training of your mental capacity. That's the neuroplasticity. That's the rewiring your brain, is like, I have choice right now in where I put my attention. And breath is one of the biggest places to put your attention when you're moving if you want that meditative state.
Well, you know what I noticed myself doing lately is whenever I'm feeling anxious around the house, if I'm in a rush or the kids are just being really emotional and I have to calm myself down, I have been thinking about, because intuitively, and Lucas always says this to me, he's like, bitch, why are you always sighing? Like, why are you always, yes.
Doesn't that feel so good?
And it's not me sighing because I'm like annoyed or I'm bothered. It's literally what you said is like releasing heat from your body.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about that and I realized like, wow, that actually does make a lot of sense to me, because when I'm activated, when I'm anxious or I'm just like feeling my heart rate kind of increase, I need to release that heat that's being built up in my body, which was so eye-opening to me to even have a language to put to that breath, because I think it helps me do it more often.
Yes. When I was saying that during teaching, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You also brought up a good point of like, it seems pretty self-explanatory, but if you really think about it, it's quite fascinating and amazing that we can move energy through our body. We can transmute blocked energy, chi, life force energy, prana. Well, prana is breath or life force, depending, but you get to move that through your body with breath and with movement. And just like we know, if you've ever read the book, The Body Keeps Score, if you've ever read some more kind of like scientific movement books, you store blocked energy in certain places in your body, in joints, in muscles, in fascia. And when you breathe, when you move, when you like physically drain your lymphatic system through movement, energy goes with like trauma, grief, sadness, like heavy, sticky, murky, stagnant energy can transmute to your body.
Well, I briefly want to touch on this because I think that this is something that every woman thinks about, and man, is the appearance, right? Like I think whenever people are having a conversation about movement and fitness, they couple that with appearance. And it's really interesting that you bring that up, because I think that if I think back to the times in my life where physically I looked different and also was heavier than my normal stature.
Yeah.
Like there's a set point that my body likes to be at. And this is normal for me. When I was outside of that normal, whether it was too big or even too little, I was always upset. I was always sad. I was always like, it was during a breakup with Lucas. It was when I was feeling really lonely, when my family was going through some shit. Like I stored that emotion in my body because I had no idea how to move through it.
Yeah.
And so I always say this, whenever I allowed my body to get healthy again, it wasn't because I did some form of movement, an 8-week challenge. It was because I added joy back into my life and allowed the joy to expel and like drain the negative emotion away.
Yeah. And instead of being so attached to, oftentimes we talk about here, the attachment to outcomes is what really causes suffering. And that's what Buddha meant when he said life is suffering. Life is suffering because you are attached to a specific outcome that you have your mindset on. And if you don't achieve that, then you will suffer. And so this idea that I will only work out to achieve the outcome of looking a certain way will work against you. I mean, you'll end up holding on to weight in your body. You'll end up creating stress in your nervous system. You'll end up unbalancing your microbiome. Like you create this free flow of energy when you release attachment to why you're moving.
Yep. I think that is the beauty of intuitive movement.
Yes.
Because I think that oftentimes people think, well, if I don't have a structure, if I don't have a workout split, if I don't have these certain days that I am working out, this routine, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to feel motivated, or I'm not going to make it to the gym. And actually, it's been quite the opposite for me. I feel like it's been so much more liberating. I've shown up more in movement when I released the routine, the rigidity of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at first, there's a balance, because at first you have to be a little bit rigid in your schedule in order to get into a routine of, I'm going to make movement a priority in my life, whatever that looks like for me.
I mean, in order to just like know that it feels good in your body.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first couple weeks of movement, if you haven't moved your body in a while, regardless again of what you're doing, feels awful.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really heavy. You're sore. You're tired. You're like, endorphins? Who? This fucking sucks. But then once you get to a point where you can start realizing that the benefits are so beyond physical, they're energetic, they're emotional, they're, you gain clarity, you gain this like attunement to every other area of your life, that translation on and off the mat, then you start getting addicted to the endorphins. Then you start getting like antsy if you don't move, if you don't find time to prioritize that. And so just kind of a call to action and encouragement to say that, the structure, the rigidity, the power, the pushing yourself is really important in those first couple months of getting into whatever you want to do to move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the last thing I want to mention is you brought up me trying out some more of those feminine movements and you trying out more of those masculine movements. I think that I would be remiss not to talk about cycle syncing and how that really has transformed my relationship with movement and gotten me into intuitive movement, because I think for so long I had a lot of shame around my performance and like my movement because I wasn't catering it to the different energy levels of my cycle. Like it makes no sense to me how I grew up working hard every single day of the month, not taking into consideration my natural hormone cycle and the change of the estrogen rising and the estrogen falling. And so now in my follicular phase, which is day 1 to like day 14-ish, that's when I'm working hard. That's when I'm running. That's when I'm lifting weights. That's when I'm doing the HIIT classes. And when I ovulate, that's peak, right? I want to get my energy out. But when I am in my luteal and the estrogen plummets, like that is the invitation to lean into feminine. That is the invitation to move slower, to do low impact work and play and rest. Like that has been so life-giving to me. And I think that if you do feel that noticeable shift, or like you do feel like you have shame around the way that you move, or like, oh, on certain days I notice I can't lift the way that I want to, or I can't run the way that I want to, like, understand that as a woman, you have that hormone cycle that changes month to month, and honoring that is the key to diving into intuitive movement.
Yeah. Recognizing movement as a very sensational, emotional healing opportunity. And just kind of back to where we started, to close it all off full circle, is the idea that sensations is really what brings you into your humanness, right? The ability to touch, taste, feel, see, hear, smell, all of the things. And to realize that these sensations that you're potentially feeling when you're moving are very real, but temporary, is a beautiful way to move through your workouts in a way that's kind and soft and gentle, or that's rigid and hard and structured. And I think that, yes, very important, women, to pay attention to where you are in your cycle and just trust in your body, right? You're cultivating this trust in yourself in so many other places in your life, in your job, in your relationships, and the way that you move through the world. And so why wouldn't that translate to how you move your body?
Yeah.
So
it's a privilege. It's fun. It's fun to move. So allow it to be fun again.
yes.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yes, princess.
Thank you guys for listening. Again, if you want to take that yoga class from Jessa, get on over to YouTube.
You should get on over to YouTube. Also, just like one final plug, I do teach in Denver, 9 a.m. on Friday mornings, 9:45 a.m. on Saturday. I try to sub some classes if I can, but I teach at True Fusion. Your first class is always free. They are 5 studios under one roof. There's Pilates, cycling, boxing, bar, boot camp. It's a really cool place to try on all these different intuitive movements. So if you want to participate in your local in the area, pop on by. I also offer one-on-one private training, and I also do virtual sessions, which is a little harder because I can't adjust your body, but we can talk.
And I'm going to bring back VHS workout tapes, so just look out for that.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.